Oh, that's so good. It's so good to be on even keel with you. So, hold on a second. We are live. Very good. Excellent.
You're quiet.
Am I? What? Can you hear me?
Well, I can hear you, but maybe it might be my hearing, just so you know.
Well, you're older. Can you hear me now?
The same. It's me. What? What?
Yeah,
Hello?
exactly. All right. So, hello, anyone who is here with us already. Good Wednesday, the last Wednesday in May. So, it's a great time to follow up and think about the first 4 months, 5 months, how we're doing on the scale of you versus you, how things are going. So, super happy to be here with you today and happy to see that Tom actually fits his frame now.
I've
Very
grown up.
yeah, welcome to the big boy and girl pants club. Very good. I love it. So we're thrilled to be here with you today. How's your weather? It's cold today. I'm not a fan. How's your
Well,
weather?
as you see behind me, it's sunny, right?
I do see that.
But
Yes.
it's been raining. It's been raining. I'm not going to complain, but it's been raining for like 3 or 4 days. We need it. We had some forest fires, some bad forest fires up northern BC again,
Yep.
in towns that got like devastated in the last 5 years, right?
Sad.
But yeah, it's one of those things where I'm not going to complain. And there is not we'll do a different live about conspiracy theories. That'll be fun. No, I'm joking. But
No, yeah, I'll make
there
my hat.
there you go. There's something. It's just to do with our world and just we're older. We're another 1,000 years, 1,000 years, 10,000, whatever
Yep.
age, right?
Yep.
And with the what I'm thinking of, the Industrial Revolution,
Right.
we just because we're human beings, if you look back into the early 1900s to now, the amount of things, and I don't go overboard with like how we're affecting like greenhouse gas and all, but there
Sure.
is something. There's got to be something, right? I know. See, that's what I said. That's our next channel.
I
But there
know,
has
right?
to be. See, I'm going to do an analogy, and I'll lose everybody now. This is like if you're in a room and if somebody farts in the room, pretty much sure somebody's going to smell it
I'm pretty sure.
for sure.
Pretty
So
sure.
so go back to like I watch a lot of food documentaries because that's just kind of my wheelhouse.
Yep.
But there has to be, like, the more our population grows and grows and grows and grows, it has to have some effect on our Earth.
Absolutely.
And I'm not, like I said, I'm not picking on a little thing like ozone or whatever. But anyways,
Well,
but
yeah.
back to you.
And it's funny, there's always going to be changes that we're going to have to deal with regardless of the source. So being prepared is the key, right? Being
100%.
prepared as much as we can. I mean, obviously we can't be prepared for everything, but we're going to do the best we can, and we're not going to get overwhelmed worrying about it because it serves no purpose. The only thing that happens when we worry about the unknown is we waste a lot of time and we're hard on ourselves.
A lot of energy.
A lot of energy. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. It's funny. So I've been in this pulmonary rehab. I graduate tomorrow. Woo, woo, woo,
I
woo.
don't have pom poms, but if I did,
Right? Where's my one pom pom? Do you got your own? I'm gonna have to get you some pom poms. So I'm pretty excited. I graduate tomorrow, and I plan on a path of staying active because I do feel better. So good idea, doctor. I feel better. But so back to the whole energy thing. So we do an hour of education, an hour of activity, and the 1 week or class, our education was on how we expel our energy. Now this was more physical, but when you think about even mental, it's still the same, right? Like where you're giving that energy, where you're putting your focus, and is it serving you well? So I think focusing on yourself, your own journey, wellness, whatever that looks like, I think that's where we should put all our energy. I think that's the way to do it. So listen, Tom, let's get serious. I'm running low on my list of this or that's. We've done fabulous. I'm going to add some extra things. Don't you worry. It's not going away. That's not happening. But just letting you know, we're getting to the nitty gritty. Okay, so let's talk. Did we do breakfast last time? Did we do sausage or bacon? Sausage or
Probably at
bacon?
some point. I don't remember. Go ahead.
Sausage or bacon?
Bacon.
Oh, sausage dipped in gravy, I might add.
Yeah.
Don't judge.
Hashtag dipped in gravy.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, train or plane?
That's not fair. I don't. I think I've taken the train once, and I think to be on a train to go across Canada would be like we're talking a train, not like a subway, right?
No, right,
Yeah.
exactly, a train.
I've been on a fair amount of flights.
Yep,
Um, the advantage of flights is quick.
yep,
If you need to go across the country and you take a instead of me driving like 12 days there and back, you can
yeah,
do it in 5 hours, drive there, fly there 5, 6 hours, right?
right.
Um, I would, so thinking of tomorrow, if I, what I want to do next, I'd love to take a train across the country.
Me too. It's on my bucket list to take the one that goes through the mountains that has the glass dome.
Rocky Mountaineer, I think it's called.
I think you're right. Yep, so that is on my bucket list. I'm like you. I've been on the train multiple times. Um, and I find, as funny as this might sound today in 2024, uh, I'm much more social on trains because I'll talk to anybody. Um, so, so I can get out and talk to people and meet people on a train. Can't really do that on a plane. So, and I love the train. So very good.
So
And
here's a question for you. Now
okay.
we're kind of going the he she thing.
Hmm.
When you're in public,
Yes.
can like I'm an introvert extrovert. I do really well in groups. I do big things
Yep.
like you. Uh, in person, out of person, you've seen me
Yep.
do music. I've done a lot of stuff, right?
Yep.
But there's a part of me I just don't want to be around people.
I'm the same.
Yeah. So in a public setting, I like I'm gonna use an example. I go with mom. So for those of us that know my mom, there's a few people on here, but if you don't, and she drives me nuts. And I love my mom. And then whenever I think of something like this, I think of me and go, am I like that? So this was months ago. We're at Walmart. She goes in, she gets a scooter, goes around. I've got a buggy. It's a little time together, right?
Sure.
And then she comes out and she leaves the scooter there. She's got to grab the basket with all the food. So she goes to the front. Then I go to the front and open up the trunk and she gets in typical stuff, right? So she cannot help herself. But I'm putting the groceries in the trunk and she's getting into the passenger seat, and she's got to talk to everybody going by. And then she goes, "Oh, that's my son. He's such a good son." And I'm like losing it. I'm going like, "Do you do that?"
Yeah.
I'm going
Totally.
to talk to Nicole. I'm talking to your daughter.
I can't tell you how many times me and Nicole have pulled into a store or the mall, and I'm not a fan of shopping, but she's literally begged me to let her go in because it takes too long with me. Well, so first of all, I know a lot of people. I've been here since I was 2 years old, but I talk to people who I don't know. So yeah, it's so funny. And then I let her go in because I do also value my quiet time. And I'm gonna say, since COVID, I feel not guilty that I like to stay home a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's really the other thing that I like since COVID, there's quite a few things I like since COVID. The other one is that people are less likely they've sort of trained themselves not to show up without letting you know first. Like people don't just like randomly show up at your house anymore. I realize I have the choice to answer or not answer the door, but at the same time there's like a few things since COVID that could be another topic
Yeah.
sometime. That I think I came out a bit of a different person. And it's funny, I one of my best buddies here in town. I've seen him more recently. since like this whole rehab thing, and I end up with some downtime, and I go and spend some time with them, which is good. And I said that to them, like, I'm more of, even though I do all, my things I'm paid to do on my own time, I'm just as happy staying home. Like, I enjoy my own company. I'm working on myself all the time. I go on, um, like life is a roller coaster, right? So like my meditating practice, I'm off right now. But when I get back in, I like to do it just sporadically. Like, when do I feel like doing it? Right now or not, right? Like, it's not something I could schedule or plan because that's not real life for me. So yeah, it's interesting how so many of us were not the same people coming out of it that we were going in.
I was going to say too, when you were talking, I know people heard half the conversation about you're graduating tomorrow. What are you graduating from again?
Pulmonary rehab. I have no idea what they're going to do.
Hey, can you do me a favor? Tammy, our sister's trying to get on. I did invite her,
Oh,
but she's having a hard time. Could you help her?
I can.
I'll
Absolutely.
talk while you help.
Okay. I'm sorry, everybody.
Yeah, she's this is the second oldest.
Oh man,
And
who are we going to talk about now if she's coming?
yeah, I told her other sisters on, but excuse me. Yeah, like Michelle was saying
Bless
earlier,
you.
you got her?
No, I just said bless you. I'm getting her.
Okay, good.
I'm on it.
Yeah, so like Michelle was saying earlier, one of the things that we want to do in this group, it is crucial, and I love on the Facebook page that some people are feeling comfortable sharing, themselves and their thoughts and ideas, and it's hard, it's risky. There was a stat I was reading the other day, Michelle, where they were saying that um, it was a high percentage, like 70, so over 70, I think it was close to 80, but over 70% of people are lookers. They don't respond. They look at TikTok. They just look.
Right.
So
Right.
I was finding a guy, I just haven't had time this week. I was curious about that. I'm going, interesting. I wonder why. Do we feel like safer? Do we feel like we have nothing to say? First of all, we're all opinionated. We all think whatever our convictions are, the
Yep.
world should think like us. And that's what I was going to go back to. So one of the things that me and Michelle talk about, and we try to make sure we're doing well, is when we share our experiences or our education or things that we've learned or courses we've gone through, we're sharing them, but we're not trying to tell you that you need to think like this or think like that. We have different types of people in the group. We're going to be adding more and more different types of people, different views. So it's actually really healthy. And we're going to talk about trust issues, which is going to totally fit in. It's actually really, really healthy to be open to understand people that are not like yourself.
Right.
It just really is.
Yeah.
Now you got to be able to take away the fear of feeling like, are you going to lose your values or whatever, right? So that's the thing. Tammy's in here. Woohoo!
I did it. Yes.
We did it. Way to go, sis.
Right.
So it's one of those things like we live in a world that I'm going to use the word fractured, but I don't mean fractured in a bad way. I'm going to use fracture splinter. But we live in a world where, like, even think of our identity, and not just sexuality, but our identity and who we are. And I was trying to help somebody with this who's way older, and they don't understand. Like, their mindset is understanding that they were binary based. So they wouldn't use that language, by the way, because they're too old, right? But they would go, well, I define myself by how, genetically I'm made, right? Which is fine, right? But then other people will be different, and I don't have to be threatened because somebody believes they don't want to be associated non-binary. Um, Colonization. I have lots of conversations, by the way, with white people from England, some of my friends,
Yeah.
about this whole idea of colonization, which has been gone through all of humanity. Humans want to conquer stuff. That's what we want to do.
Sure. Of
We want to
course.
go steal the spear from the next village and take
That's right.
the dinosaur they hunted.
Right. 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 Right.
But this is a safe place. Feel free. Like, if somebody doesn't agree with you, we encourage you, you can share your opinion, but it's not about, well, I don't like this, right? We want to be careful.
Oh,
And I think we've done a good job, sis. High five.
I think so too. High five. High five.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I agree. And I think, really at the end of the day, it's only what you think about yourself, right? Your progress, your achievements, even your failures.
Yeah.
Newsflash, everybody's got them. How did we survive? What did we learn? Right? All that sort of stuff. And I think also acknowledging that you're a different person today than you were 20 years ago, but you're also a different person in your role. So like you're a different partner, or maybe just different things you respond to differently. It could be how you respond to drama, how you respond to people caring what you think, how you respond to all sorts of different things change. And then of course you grow as you go, and life experience is what aids you in that. I think we're always, whether it's on the conscious level or not, I think we're always sort of selecting what we want to keep and what we want to leave, right? Like,
Right.
or what you would do differently. Like there's always lessons. And when you look back, like when I think of ex relationships,
Right.
I think about, I have two exes, and I think about my responsibility in those. And I think, when I think about like my first ex I met when I was 17, Michelle at 17 was a different person than when I met my second ex. I was 23. I was a different person. And then when I met Al, that I'm still with, I was 28, different person. Well, here I am now, almost 30 years later. I'm still different. I'm probably much different. I have a lot thicker skin. I don't tolerate as much nonsense. He's probably like, what the hell did I sign up for? But at the same time, that's how we grow and evolve. And if you don't evolve, because we've talked before about how people get stuck in anger, right? Well, I don't know if it was publicly or privately, but when you get stuck on skip like that and you're not growing, you're not evolving, you're just in a puddle of mud and you can't get out. I think maybe last week we talked about a little bit. So, if you're not looking and seeing what has to change and owning your own part, like I have to own, even though, I might not have thought in the moment that a lot of big things were my fault. At the end of the day, I still have my handle in it of what, how I responded, or maybe there were things lacking in the relationship and that's why other things happened or whatever. But I think it's important that that's where our focus is, not on what other people think. It's so interesting. I remember seeing something online or somebody in a TED talk, and they were talking about, if I take this piece of paper and I rip it up into 50 different pieces, and then I smush it all together and I get in the car and I drive down the road and I throw it out the window, me being able to pick up every single piece and put that piece of paper back together is just as likely as me being able to figure out who thinks what about me and change that opinion. It's just not going to happen.
Our sister still hasn't got on, so do you want to rescue her? I see her there, but she's like not there. So we would
Okay.
do this. We would do this for anybody, not just our sister. But I don't know if Wendy's on, if Wendy wants to help her. But
And she sees us. She sent me a screenshot.
yeah,
Tam,
but
we're here.
I don't know. Maybe she thinks she needs to be live with us.
Maybe. Tammy, we're not doing it.
Yeah, but in it. So, and this can definitely be another topic at some point.
Yeah, for
Is
sure.
how do you, with, and I'll throw the word in, strong convictions, right? How do
Yeah.
you, with our strong convictions, live in a relationship um, with others? I'll use for an example, like we're not going to dive into it too much today, but how do you, with, let's say, I know lots of people, yes, I know lots of people where the wife and the kids will go to church and the dad won't, or he just shows up, whatever, and he'll have a non-religious view and she'll have a religious view, would say, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And and they live together. And so I'm being silly, but kind of truthful here. So sometimes it'll the one person say, well, just don't preach at me language. And
Sure.
then the other one saying, oh, but it's so important, blah, 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 right? And
Right.
so in those things, like food's the same way. You would know that me, you know it
Yeah,
with food,
for
right?
sure.
Whoop, I dropped something. But with food, we would we would like I've got friends that are like hardcore vegans. Nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
fine. And I have no problem listening to somebody's convictions. Hey, blah, blah, blah. But it's interesting, and this is going to come into the trust stuff. It's interesting that I think to be freer, like to be inside
Right.
free, I have to let go of negativity. Like you said, I need to let go of stress and anxiety. I was telling Michelle beforehand, I had one of the most difficult weeks that I've had in the last week or so. Some health stuff. I mean, I'm just getting tests and stuff like that. And then just working through like the rest of us finances, going like, holy, like anything financially that's could gone wrong the last 3 or 4 months, getting a ticket for passing a school bus.
Mm.
Oh, I've never had that. Car accident, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I say to Michelle, you have to take a breath. We call reset, recenter. And if you got breath in your lungs, then take a breath, slow it down,
Yeah.
and then you'll get through it. The end of the day comes. Most of us are going to go to bed and sleep. Be thankful. Didn't we talk about the two being
Yeah.
being thankful, this
Attitude
positive
of
energy, right?
gratitude.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And and of course, everybody's different. So it's not a blanket statement. But for the most part, things have been better and things have been worse. And I think that's important too. One of my favorite sentences is this too shall pass. Like everything's temporary, right? And it's interesting what you're saying about finances. Honestly, I don't know anybody that's not finding it tight right now, myself included. So good thing for us, Tom. We're OGs at being poor. So
Yeah.
we I can stretch out some ground beef, but at the same time, it's still not ideal. But I'm hopeful, and I don't know what the answer is, and we're not getting political, but I'm hopeful that better times are ahead, and it makes me grateful that I did have those experiences, that I do know how to stretch a dollar out, that I am frugal, and that I can lean on all those things, right? Which is good. It doesn't make the moment really less painful, but it gives me hope for the future. Because where we don't have hope, that's where we get into trouble. That's when it starts to spiral, right?
And I think, yeah, and again, I was gonna say if people see me looking away because I look this way and we're on a 3 second delay or whatever.
Yes.
And so I see myself looking away. So what I'm doing is I'm managing our chats, and then of course we have different people sometimes that are having a hard time getting in and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and I've said this before, either here or in other places. We saying this to mom today, by the way. The benefit of getting older, the benefit of this is you're saying this too will pass. The
Yeah.
benefit of experience, the highs and the lows, rich, poor, all these things through some of the work. Like I would never tell somebody like who's been through like an incredible difficult relationship, or I've got some people dealing with death. I had a
I was
friend,
gonna, yeah, like grieving, this too shall
yeah,
not. Like that's
had a friend. They're not,
oh,
they wouldn't be on here, but I have a friend who 3 young kids, and the mom was at home, the dad was working, but the 2-year-old got out into the backyard and they have a pool, and the 2-year-old fell in the pool and drowned.
oh,
Yeah. And so the guilt and brokenness, this happened a couple of years ago, but the guilt and brokenness of that is
yeah,
incredibly difficult. So how do you get through that? You have to give time to grieve. How do you get through trust? From trust, it takes time. How do you get through the things that me and Michelle will talk to you about? So I kind of I bend in, or like where I'm kind of moving towards is a lot to do with mindsets. Michelle too, actually, but to
yeah,
do with our this whole idea of in mental wellness. How do we deal with addiction? How do we deal with depression, how to be anxiety. And so me and Michelle have this great blend. We both have experience and information in both. But the beginning of anything comes down to is find value in yourself. If you need to leverage in your mind going, okay, I want to be better for my kids or my grandkids or whatever. If you don't see value, you're never going to do the work.
That's right. It all starts inside.
And
Yeah,
you and I've said before, but you've said this last times, you can't beat yourself up because you have, I call a one-off day.
yeah.
You have to understand the journey. So go back to experience. The benefit of experience, like I'm in my 60s and we're okay, she's not in yet. You need to rescue
I
her.
know, I'm still talking to her.
Okay, good. Okay, we won't say which sister, but
Damn it.
the whole goal is when we can learn through our experience. And the nice thing is we get to look back, right? So
Right.
at my age, I was saying this to a young guy that I'm counseling, and he's in his 30s and life is horrible. I said, I didn't say this too will pass, but I said, here's the truth. Well, okay, I'm going to be brutally honest. I said, you're either going to survive or you don't.
Right. No, but
You're either
right.
going to wake up in the morning or you're not, which sounds horrible, but it's truth, right?
But
And
we have that decision. We have more control than we think. I
yeah,
think you nailed it.
so how we choose to walk through um, working towards being well, holistically the
Yeah.
well, and it takes maybe a baby step here or a bunny step here or great a big step. And if we learn, and here's the thing too, if we learn to be kind with ourselves, and if we, by the way, if we blow it, and when we talk about trust, if we've screwed up,
Yeah.
and we will, we're human. If you think you've never
Totally.
screwed up, then that's another conversation. But if we need to be honest and transparent. But if you don't be kind to yourself, I find it hard to be kind to others.
That's
the
right.
the negativity will somehow come through, because if you're not living up to your expectations, or if you have too much pressure on you, you'll mirror that on more than likely those you love, by the way.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's where, maybe you have something, you accomplish something, and then it reflects by not giving you true credit, saying, "Oh, you're lucky," right? Or whatever. Like all that verbiage really speaks volumes as to your relationship. And then if people are really lifting you up, and then of course it reflects on how they feel about themselves, right? It's fascinating how much the outer world really relies on the inner world inside each person.
100%,
Yeah,
100%.
for sure. You're not trying to help her too, are you?
I'm sending her the live and messenger. We'll see. I don't know.
Good luck. Okay.
Anyways, let's talk about our topic.
Yes, go.
So me and Michelle say, like, we have an idea in a sense, and in a very broad sense, of what things we want to talk about. And it's gone really well. I was trying to look on YouTube on the different things, and
Yeah,
I'm going,
good.
hey, this is pretty good, right?
Yeah,
And
okay.
we may veer off. I mean, the whole thing is that we're thankful that you guys trust us enough to listen to us
For
and to
sure.
respond.
Yep.
But this is how we learn. We learn from each other, right? So when I mentioned overcoming trust issues, give me some of the first things that popped into your mind. I'm going to be interviewing you part of this.
Apparently. Okay. I didn't study for the test. So trust issue, well, it's twofold. It's trusting others and trusting self. So I am very trusting of other people. I don't make them earn my trust. I am just both feet in most times. But when it comes to trusting self, it depends on exactly what we're talking about. Of course, like most humans, I'm harder on myself than I am on other people, right? But I give other people the benefit of the doubt, and I give them the opportunity to lose the trust, where quite often people are the opposite. And with me, I can honestly say, and it could tie in with some of my life choices over the years, but I've always been like that. Like even when I was little, I talked to strangers, I was trusting. It's amazing I didn't get kidnapped. What, you got candy? I got a hand. Well, let's do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's just, yeah, it's just the way I've been. And even when I felt like I was wronged or, either of those relationships broken up or whatever, I never was like I would take a break from relationships after to like de
Yeah.
you know program myself or whatever. But I never like swore off men or what I mean, got really angry, but I would just, I need a break and just I don't even know if I was focusing on myself. I was just turning the crazy off for a while, right?
Well, let me use a word that you'll love. This to do with personality styles, but you're a bit intrinsic. Is that the right word?
Yeah,
Great word. So
yeah,
there's something about where we're kind of bigger than the circumstances.
yeah.
We're not the good and bad of that. It's mostly good, by the way. But yeah, it's an interesting. Okay, I don't know. Talk to her. She's sending me pictures.
Oh,
I
okay.
apologize for distracting.
Tag
But
me in.
anyways,
I got it.
you got it. Okay.
I
But
got it.
so, but so it's interesting. So this is just the way I process, right? I go like Michelle's saying that. I'm going, is she said she's always been, trusting from a young age. And I think of what would have lent itself to that. Is there a genetic component of these type of things? I'm not sure. I'm just saying it, right? Um,
Mm,
is it created environmentally? I think that's a huge thing, by the way. I think your
oh,
environment,
yeah,
sets some of the guidelines of your convictions as you grow up, and they shift. They can shift. Like you can become 10 and then 20, 30, 40, and then things will shift, and you'll again experience, right? But I find that in the area of trust, one of the I think most of us, as we grow up, we're younger, we don't distrust until trust has been broken.
I agree. Yeah.
So if your friend tells you that they're going to come for a play date and you're 5, and they're going, now, well, maybe that's too young because you don't probably don't care. You'll play by yourself with whatever, right? But if you're at an age and disappointment, then that leads to trust. Well, you said you're going to be here last time and you weren't here, but whatever, right? I want to say one of my heroes, 100% like makes me overwhelms me is I have a granddaughter who is 12, and she's had maybe one of the most difficult years in the last year as an 11-year-old. Her mom and dad split up for different reasons, doesn't matter. She's living with her mom in Alberta, so she's far from us, which we hate, which is hard for us. Uh, she so she's dealing with abandonment issues with dad,
Yeah.
and then she's got some already social anxiety and some depression stuff, right? And she's a beautiful young woman. She looks like she's 15 or 16, so I don't like that. I think Nicole was the same, right? She looked older than she was, right?
She did. Yeah.
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 So my granddaughter, in a small town, has a best friend, and then her best friend, after a couple of like a month of being best friends, she's over at the house hanging out doing whatever, and then she steals my granddaughter's her her not her phone, her iPad or something like that, her Switch, normal
Okay.
Switch, right?
Oh,
And so, and the girl, this other girl, and I feel sorry for her, but she's had a very difficult, challenging background, right? And so that happened, and then this girl ended up spreading lies at school, and she was being bullied, and then on the internet she was being bullied, where they had to get like so here's this girl, so with my granddaughter with her friend who it didn't take long, but it took time. But in this brokenness of trust, betrayal, she had the ability, not being stupid, like not being taken advantage of, but her making decisions, going, walking through forgiveness. Maybe is one of the ways to do that, right? And and I thought, like, man, to know that at 12 and I think you're kind of that personality too. To know that at 12, I don't know. I think I'm pretty good at it now, but I don't think I've learned that until I was in later in my years. Because if somebody broke trust, like I grew up feeling abandoned, right? I grew up with no missing some parental affirmation and stuff, right? And so for me, I try to prove worth, which is what
Right.
happens with that.
Yep.
And and in a place like me, so I'm being transparent here, guys, people.
Yep.
So for me, I um I was needy in the sense that I wanted approval, right? I wanted people to say, "Hey, way to go, Tom," right?
Right.
As a young man, and again through sometimes Michelle and I said we'll share a bit of our journey, and they're both different and have their challenges, right? But I have reached a point in my mid to late 20s where I realized that I needed to be okay in myself. And even though there had been broken trust in relationships and disappointments and all that stuff, I needed to be okay, regardless of relationships being restored or more disappointments, which happen, right? All the time. Have you fixed it? Right. I don't even know what to say to my.
I don't know.
She,
Anyway.
she tell us she can watch it on YouTube later.
Yeah, she's watched the other ones.
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll have
anyway,
to babysit her through. But
that's
yeah,
a good
so
idea.
part of it. So let's go
So
over.
what did you say?
Yeah, there you go. I was long with. Yeah, it's just hard because what shapes our view, um, we're shaped by experience,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
we're shaped by if we have people in trust that have become untrustworthy and all that. When I was in school in Toronto, I took psychology. I loved it. I think I said I read a book called Games People Play. We did this thing, which seems mean now, but I remember the psychology teacher said, "We want you to do this." There was a person in the first class, like there was two classes back to back that, and we all knew each other. We're all grade 11, and they said, I want you to do an experiment. When you see this person, and they didn't know, a surprise, when you see this person, ask them if they're feeling okay. Hey, are you okay? Hey, are you okay? So all of us, you talk about influence, right? So all of a sudden, this person's fine. All of a sudden, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 people asking, are you okay? Are you feel well? All of a sudden you go, I don't know, maybe I'm sick. Am I sick? Whatever you do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so this goes back to what we said before. You want to make sure you're putting in the good stuff for you, rest, being truthful,
Yeah.
and then don't beat yourself up, love yourself, right? And those are the things that help us overcome in the area of working through addiction with guys. We're talking hardcore addiction. So, or some of these guys have, in the midst of their addiction, have committed murder and like just difficult stuff, right? And so they're trying to deal with the reason they got into it, addictive, to mask and to cope.
Yeah.
Then they have to deal with the shame and the pain of their, in the midst of their addiction, of not being in control, of doing horrendous crimes,
Right.
right? So it's kind of this back and forth, but you have to come. So part of it is trusting yourself. So by the way, it's
Right.
being able to go, I need to trust my granddaughter. I need to trust that I'm not going to be duped by this person, but I value our friendship. So I'm going to be honest, but I'm going to let this person know, like, I value our friendship. It's important to me,
Yeah.
right? Relationship. So, anyways, are we done with? Are we, are we done?
Yeah.
Like,
I got one eye over there, one eye over
okay.
here.
So overcoming trust. So
Yes.
here's one of the things, right? Once trust is broken, maybe not in your case, which is a good thing. Well, we should unwrap that a bit. But usually, once trust is broken, it's hard to get back. It's hard.
Right.
Not
Right.
for you though, right? And not in a bad way, right?
So, like, I wouldn't say, yeah, I don't know what's going on with me there actually, because I mean, I had a lot of mean girls in my life growing up. When you were talking about the situation with the girls being bullies, it's so interesting. I was watching Jordan Peterson recently. He's a Canadian, he's controversial, whatever. I like him.
Is he real? Is he a real person? I'm joking.
Yeah, he is. And I need my tinfoil hat, but we'll talk about that another time. But he was talking about girls and boys and why girls tend to be so mean when they're younger. And it's because girls don't tend to physically fight. So they're nasty and mean and they're pretty cutthroat sometimes. And that's my experiences 100%. Growing up, I ended up having more guy friends than girlfriends exactly for that reason. So once you've taken my trust, I'm not so quick to give it back. I may never give it back. I might still remember what you did to me 50 years later, but I would be cool. I would be smooth, but I still wouldn't let you in my circle. But I think it goes back to, did I ever share the quote with you? If you're not spoon fed love as a child, you'll lick it off a knife as an adult.
Nope, but I like that one. You got to put that in the group in the wall.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. And I think with me, I was just so blessed to have that unconditional foundation from both my parents were like my mom and I got dysfunctional like the last 10 years she was alive. But before that, like growing up, whatever, another conversation, but that foundation was there, even though it wasn't perfect. And so I think that's where a lot of it stems from is that when I was very young, which is sort of interesting, I find, because, I left our family, like where I lived with you as a sibling, but then I was in a foster home for a whole year and I had a relationship with those parents. And I don't know if I ever told you this, but they wanted to adopt me. And their paperwork didn't go through as fast as my adoptive parents' paperwork. So that's how I ended up in Sarnia, not probably still in Ottawa. So really considering like I broke relationships twice, um, but I still remembered you. Like my mom used to say, like they adopted me 2 months before I turned two, and I spent a lot of time standing at the door looking for the kids
Yeah.
to come pick me up. So that's interesting. But going back to the um the whole thing, I think it's got to be foundational. I think it has to be that I just was so secure. And then, but the other part of that was when I was 25 and my dad died, I was so broken and lost, right? Because even though I'd met, not you, but like I'd met our mom but that's just still not the same, right? Like 20 years later. It's
Yeah.
just not, like I can't change that. It's just not the same. But I think that's what it is. I think it's foundational. That's why I just, yeah. But then again,
Well,
trust
but
and self
it's
is built up.
interesting. It's interesting, right? Because so remember I was saying earlier about is there evidence of DNA? Like I'm an evidence
Right.
guy. Like as I get
Yeah,
older,
of
I'm
course.
not like paranoid, but if
Yeah.
you're going to make a statement, then back it up with some evidence,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
that's
Right.
me, right? But
Right.
it's interesting that you'll see. Just use an example. There'll be two kids, 2 years old, so they've basically been fed and kind of
Yeah.
modeled to some degree, but not
Yeah.
not influenced as have been 4, 5, 10 years type thing, right?
Right.
And you'll
Right.
have one child that will be fearless.
Yep.
You have one child
Yep.
that will be incredibly hesitant.
Yes.
So I don't know if there's genetic, I haven't looked enough. I'm curious. I'm just curious, guys. So I need to look at, but because with a lot of things, you have our genetic makeup, so that affects like genetically how our brain is,
Yep.
like how we are,
Mm,
this thing.
sure.
With experience, they kind of go off. So you said something. If you're in a safe place, if you feel safe, if you feel loved, it was your words,
Yeah.
then I believe you're more likely to forgive somebody if like a play
Oh,
date doesn't show up or somebody,
for sure.
you're at preschool and Billy, my 6-year-old granddaughter, I have two. one of her issues was early in the year, and it's just kids, but one of the kids said to her, well, you don't have a dad.
Oh,
And the kid's not trying to be mean, it's just like a 6-year-old boy.
yeah, they
it's
were.
it's still because we're oversensitive. We live in an oversensitive world, but anyway.
Mhm.
But it was hard for her, and so her mom, me and my daughter talking, saying, you have to make you we have to communicate with the granddaughter, saying, don't let that bug you. You do have a
That's
dad.
right.
You
That's
have
right.
you have a dad, but so
That's right.
don't, that person doesn't know everything, so just choose not want to go to school, resentful, whatever, right? And so those types of things, we we teach,
Right.
right? So
Absolutely.
back like with your story again, because like you said, once trust is broken, so let's use the obvious one, is if you're in a relationship and somebody's unfaithful, right?
Mhm.
That's probably the hardest relational thing.
Hard.
And not to be too descriptive, but a majority of us were probably, depending on beliefs, that majority of us were had relationships before we had, say, a get together, like the first love or first live in or whatever, right? First
Oh, yeah.
marriage, right?
Right. Right.
So a majority of us, not all of us, but have had physical intimacy.
Right.
And so going into it, it's not like the old charlatan days. Well, can you prove your virginity? Um, but
Right.
but there's something that happens on an emotional level,
Oh,
and on
absolutely.
a very like, it seems so deep in this place of an affair, right?
Right.
One time, long time, doesn't matter. And so, how do you navigate? Because if you don't deal with that, I deal with lots of people with this,
Yep.
guy, mostly men, but guys and girls, right? Women. And if you don't learn to deal with the trust issues, you mentioned, or male to female type thing,
Yep.
you will bring that baggage into the next relationship. You may meet the
Absolutely.
person of your dreams,
Yep.
and they'll trigger something, and the experience or the crimes committed in
Yep.
the first relationship
Yep.
will come back full fold.
That's
And
right.
you and I both probably know people. I'm not saying that you need to be in one relationship the whole life. That's great. But a
Right.
lot of times we'll be, like you said yourself, 2 or 3 relationships, and it's fine. Like, depends on your personality.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
But if you don't, not that you'll be perfect, but if the thing about trust, if all of a sudden you're looking behind, like Al, you and Al, do you trust Al?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Because that is that because he's locked in the house? No, I'm joking.
I was gonna say, whenever I let him out,
Yeah, I don't let him out without his collar on.
so it works. But no, I know you're right. And it's funny. Remember when I said I sort of detox in between? That's why, because I don't want to take that baggage with me. And at the end of the day, when you look back and statistics are showing multiple monogamous relationships through a lifetime is really the way our culture is going. Um, but if you look and you're always having the same relationship but a different face on the person, you're the common denominator,
Yeah.
right? It's not yeah, it's not trying to replace the same like the same bad qualities, or somebody who tends to be, and a lot of us grow out of this was my first relationship, I think. I was the fixer. I was like, well, he's young, he's not going to be like that forever, he's going to grow out of that, he's going to be a better man, blah 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 blah. Here's your news alert, didn't happen. But why would I expect that, right? And who am I to fix anybody? Like those things that come with, I think, when you're not quite as mature as well, but or an enabler. That's
Yeah.
another one, right? If you're enabling bad behavior, or um yeah, it's interesting dynamics of a relationship.
Well, I just put into the group one of the notes I made, because I make notes,
You're a note
notes, and
taker.
notes. So one of the things I put down, the footprint of distrust. So I just put it into the group chat. People will
Ooh,
get later. Good wording, eh? See how smart I
love
am for
that.
being like a couple
Wow.
years older? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're a fan.
it it's interesting of what you were just sharing, because you can trying to think how to say this. You can, like, I think just in a general sense of humanity, what we have the mindset, and doesn't mean we're a bad person, doesn't mean like we're overtly aggressive, but we have the mindset, like you said, where, well, the next time I'll make sure, like, you didn't use the word train, we don't use that word, but we feel that we can influence to somebody's betterment.
Right.
Now we don't say this, but I believe we believe this as we get older. We believe that we all become in better through community, relationship,
I agree.
transparency, right?
Yep.
And so you talk about the footprint of distrust, you can look at the footprint of trust. How do you build trust, right? And so I know many people, and we probably all do, that they say they get out of one relationship. And I'm going to use the typical one. You're with a man, trust has been broken, could be dozens of reasons. And then all of a sudden you're in a next relationship and it's fine, fine. And all of a sudden you find that some of these same things creep up. And then again and again. And all of a sudden you realize that in this idea of wanting to be with somebody, not being alone, which is very fair, that's really fair, you realize that you keep fishing out of the same pool, right?
Right.
So all of a sudden you go, well, why is there an issue with, why do I always have to say with an alcoholic or blah blah whatever it be, right?
Right.
Workaholic, whatever. And all of a sudden, to be healthy, you got to look at yourself and go, and not be kind in this process, but you got to look at yourself and go, okay, so what is it? You mentioned the word enabling. What is it?
Mhm.
Is there, you mentioned about being a fix-it person, right?
Yeah.
What is it that we do that's important? Like I said to you, for me, I would take any, I was so desperate for affection, well, not like sexually, for feeling accepted, maybe is a better way,
Yeah.
that I didn't care if people were using me for anything in my life, like earlier, right?
Right.
You
Right.
could use me, but I don't want to be alone. And when you're with me, I feel like I'm validated. It's weird, like shaped out of my childhood experiences. And I'm not blaming my family, just
Oh,
my experiences, right?
right.
So it's interesting, going back to the trust thing, is dealing with our topic, overcoming trust. So maybe another time, maybe today, but probably not today because we're almost an hour in, but modeling trust, what is trust? But let me go through a couple of points of once trust is broken, how to earn back.
Oh, good.
So
Okay.
trust can look like this. A partner, a child, whatever, can be dishonest to you. It could be financially, it could be relational, it could be a lot of, medicating, whatever it could be, right?
Yep.
And in our important relationships, our kids or our spouses, or maybe not parents, but like if you're older, I'm not thinking like mom and grandpa, like older people, they're just there. They're just waiting for someone to bring up the, what do you call it, the milk and cookies. but but in it, how do we, so when trust has been broken, so we have trust broken, so all of a sudden somebody that's close to you, best friend, whatever it is just broken trust. So here are some of the components to rebuild trust, and you may agree with some of them, you may have a different version, but at the end of the day, it's kind of this kind of the whole circle. What's it look like? And most have probably been through it. Number one that's crucial, especially relationally, is listen to the other person's, their hurt and their anger. You're
Mhm.
not validating it, but if all of a sudden you're an ass,
Okay.
you're a man. I'm picking on men. You come home, you've had a hard day at work, you open the door, you kick the dog, and you take out your frustration on your wife and your kids. And at some point, your wife says, like, you're an ass, right? And at some point, if I'm being an ass, I need to go, okay, you
Oh,
realize,
yeah.
you see the light, and all of a sudden, so you need to listen to that person, like in any marital counseling, that you need to listen, and they need to be able to say, you need to let them say where they're at. You're not validating what they're saying, you're actually validating them. You're saying
Right.
you're worth for me to listen to. Even I do this, Michelle, if you do this, I'm bad at this. I'm owning this. I do this as I get older. If people say something, well, what do they mean when they said that word? Like, and
Oh,
I'm trying to
can
listen,
we
right?
analyze the heck out of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if
So
somebody says they're angry, I was talking to somebody today and they're going, well, being angry, being French Canadian, angry means throwing something against the wall and being, and I go, well, that's a part of it, but anger could be displayed in so many ways. But
that's,
that's this person's view, right?
of
But
course.
so part of it, listening to person's anger and hurts, just being present, empathize, and
Yeah,
empathize. Me and you're empathetic people. We are, but
right.
just not perfect, but we are. But when we empathize, it means we care. It's showing again value to that person. Going, you know what? Um, I might not even understand, but I want to. I want to understand, but I want you to know that I care, right? Um, Another one, there's seven of them. Ask what is needed to prevent, and I'll put these on the wall later.
Okay.
Ask what is needed to prevent another reoccurrence.
Right.
If I come home, I'm picking on men. If I come home and I had a hard day at work, everybody pissed me off.
Yeah.
If I need to go in the garage and have a little alone time,
Yeah.
don't take it out on the people you love,
That's right. Exactly right. I love that. So
right?
true.
So, and then, so asking what's needed. So, and then they'll be honest. Like, so words again, somebody may say, when you raise your voice, actually, we were passionate, right?
Mhm.
So if you may have somebody that soon as somebody's voice goes up a little bit, they shrink. So they would communicate saying, when you raise your voice, this is
Yeah.
how I feel.
Right.
This
Right.
isn't how you make me feel. This is how I feel,
Right.
right?
That's right.
Be conscious to do the things listed in this idea of that show trustworthiness. So don't. It's not a one-time. Hey, I'm sorry, I was a dick. Forgive me. That doesn't work. But
Right.
it's in healthy relationships, friendships. You and Nicole have a great relationship, right? You and your kids have a great relationship, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
It really means that you when you build trust, you're present. You're not distracted by things over there. You shut that down. And you go, okay, hey, and your grandkids, you do that too, right?
Oh, for sure.
Take
Absolutely.
take full responsibilities. Don't sidestep and don't blame others.
Hmm.
Own your shit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. Right. Yep.
There's two more. Express your regret because, and this one was hard for me when I was younger because I go, well, no, I didn't mean to hurt you. And that could be true,
Yep.
but I'm building a wall. I'm not taking down the wall. So language we would use now is saying, I am so sorry you feel that way. I am so
Exactly
sorry,
right.
right?
Exactly right.
Last one is this, and I said a little bit earlier, have open communication check in. Even with yourself, Michelle says this lots. She has modeled this and this to me. You check in with yourself, like, hey, am I just BSing myself? If
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time, then if I need to take a personal wellness day,
Yeah.
and when
Exactly.
you do that, then you do to others. You like, hey, like if you need space, it's okay. It doesn't mean I'm not gonna take it personal,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, there's my 7 steps.
I love that. Very good. Very good. And I think it's very important that like communication, regardless, coworker, friend, partner, child, grant, whatever it is, having that open communication. And I think this is where we're shaking off a lot of things from years gone by, where men were not encouraged to show emotion. You have all those labels that used to go on people about, whining or even being too confident was frowned upon, right? So when you think about that, we're in a new time. It's okay that we have to train ourselves a new way. It's okay that, putting ourselves in check, or, I mean, we've all been in scenarios where somebody tells us we've made them feel a certain way and we're a little blown away. We had no idea. And it could be because it wasn't intended a certain way and a word has more than one meaning. It could be, they half heard something that wasn't directed at them. There's a thought, or you just had tunnel vision to something else. You weren't even paying attention. It wasn't even crossing your mind that, this is going to affect somebody a certain way. And so I think being open to realize we all have our own journey. We're all going to experience it our own way. And we're all going to take things our own way based on our own experiences. It's very real.
Yeah. And I think I said I can't remember the movie now. There's a movie. It was based on a book years ago where the guy travels and his dad wants to go to school and he dies at the end. He eats bad mushrooms.
Hmm.
Well, I can't remember the movie. I love this movie, but it's this guy that's saying, I don't want to be, my dad wants me to be like his
Yeah,
dad's successful. And he
yeah.
actually gives his money to Oxcam, I think. So it's pretty funny. But, anyways, he goes in this incredible journey. If I remember the movie, I'll post it. I know I did it before, right? But here's one of the things as we get closer to ending. Here's what I think to do with trust and distrust, and actually a little bit of everything we talk about, and probably in your world with Weight Watchers. It's the fear of change.
Oh, absolutely.
And here's even though it might not be conscious in this idea of fear of change, it's easy to think, and I'm going to tell everybody now, you're going to change your thinking and conviction. You're going to be liberal and Democrat or whatever, like in general, sports, non-sports, food, whatever. You are going to change your mind on certain things multiple times through your life. Just tell the truth, right?
Absolutely.
But
Yep.
part of this idea of fear of change is it's an internal background kind of voice.
Mhm.
Was the way I was thinking or living wrong?
Oh, interesting.
So all of a sudden, if you go, like, say if somebody doesn't trust anybody, I know lots of people like that, probably you. So all of a
Oh,
sudden, we're
I
talking
do
about this,
too. Yeah.
saying you need to trust for your benefit. You need to forgive for your benefit. You need, the healthier you are, the healthier the people around you will be. Blah blah blah. All the stuff we say, right? But all of a sudden, it's easy to feel like we almost love being bad friends with anger and
Oh,
disappointment and
way easier. Way
hatred.
easier.
Yeah.
Yes.
And part of it is because, and we need a shift, reset
Yep.
again. We need a
Yep.
shift to start going, you know what? It's okay. Like here, I'll use an example. I'm gonna be 63, right? I'm just being brutally honest here. I hate, I hate the fact that, and then I shouldn't use the word hate, wrong word. I sit there and go, I'm 63, I should know better. Do you say that at your age?
No.
Yeah, because you're special. I'm not.
No. No. I think I just don't tie it with the age, but I definitely critique myself the same way.
So
I just don't tie it with the
yeah.
age.
Well,
Um,
I think
yeah,
it's, and yeah, and I know what you're
I
saying
do
too.
it
And
though.
yeah, but it's easy. Like, see that self negativity, and we've
Yeah.
talked about before. Like, I think it's important to own. Like, if you're being honest, own your stuff. You know what? Totally screwed up. Didn't get a hold
Totally.
of this person. A, B, C. It doesn't matter what it is, right?
Yep.
And there's freedom for you in that. And if somebody doesn't want to forgive you, that's on them. But
Right.
and there's bigger things, so that's a different story. But if you give yourself permission to say, you know what, I am going in open-eyed and excited for the
Yes.
new things before me. As Michelle said at the beginning, what was the question about what's on your bucket list?
Oh, the train
Yeah.
going
So
across the
we have
mountains.
a group of us in here. I won't say all your names, but Wendy's and Callie's general. So if you can hear us, and if you're just having this on but making dinner, put the kids to bed or whatever, doesn't matter, right? Um, put down things on your bucket list. That'll be fun to know about
Yeah.
people what's on your bucket list, right?
Yep.
But the nice thing about bucket lists is people, we kind of, it gives us hope or something for the future. If all we think is we're going to pay bills till we die, pay taxes, and then be
Yep.
a miserable old coot,
Yep.
life sucks. So
Yep.
so even today, like I said, I had a horrible week. The sun is still shining here. If you see there,
Yep.
I'm talking to my sister who I love, and
Yep.
as we have shared, we didn't have the privilege of spending a lot of our childhood together.
Yeah.
And in probably now, how long have we been doing this, Michelle? 3 months?
Yeah. Something like that or so. Yeah. Or
We have
so.
talked more in 3 months than we have in
Our whole life.
50 years.
Yeah.
And we found this common ground. We came up with this idea. And so to me, I always try to find those points that say, hey, the ABC is hard, but you know what? This is important. This is good.
Exactly. I agree. And if I can do a shout out to everybody who's joining us every week, or not every week, but I know there's some of you. Thanks for participating in this because it's collectively as a group that's made it happen. And yeah, I think the same thing. I am absolutely thrilled that you, because this was your idea, that you invited me to participate in this. And then collectively, we've brought our good vibe tribe together. So I love that very
And
much.
but here's the key, right? So people know when we did it. So
Yeah.
I'm not an inventor, but I have epiphanies all over the time. That's why I'm doing like hashtag and doing all my silly stuff, right? But here's what I know, Michelle. When me talk said, hey, what do you think about this? Even though it doesn't matter that I initiate the conversation, you
Mm,
knew right away, you said, yes, let's
absolutely.
do it. So here's a freebie off topic, right? Here's a freebie. Trust your intuition. Trust
Absolutely.
if you're bound with like guilt, shame, anger, and all these other things, and we've talked bits, and we'll talk more about when you're like, get help, find ways on yourself with information, talk to us, talk to people. You're going to be so surprised of how excellent, Michelle's word, you are. And here's the thing, there's something cohesive about us and our journey and our sphere of
Oh, yeah.
influence that unless you're willing to open up and risk, you're never going to know.
That's it. Exactly. Right. You'll just be the same hamster on the wheel all the time if you're not taking any chances. High five to Gwen. She put in the chat that, oh, yes, Wendy, very good. So Gwen is hoping to make it to Portugal next year. I love it. I watch all these walking tours, Gwen, on YouTube, all through Portugal. Absolutely beautiful. And then Wendy, a different Wendy,
Yeah,
Tom, she wants to take a train across Canada, go see
love
polar
it.
bears in Churchill. Wendy, maybe we'll be on the same train. Who knows? I love that too. You have to
So,
aspire to something.
so I've said this before. I'm going to share it on here because we've shared funny stuff. I can share it on our group page. There's a movie called The Way. I'm going to harass everybody in a gentle, loving way as friends. I would encourage you to watch this movie. It's Emilio Estevan. Can't remember the dad and son.
I think you've mentioned it before.
So the way
Yeah.
is about this trip on Portugal. So the very beginning, I'm not ruining it. It's about journey. You
Yeah.
if you don't embrace journey, if you don't sit there going, well, it rained today, but maybe we need the rain. Maybe help put up forest
Yeah.
fires. Maybe perception, perspective.
All right. I heard that. We
But
haven't done that
but
yet
this
either.
movie, The Way, I encourage somebody to watch it and put your comments. It doesn't have to be my comments. Put what you got out of it, because what it's about. The very beginning is a son who's into hiking. The dad's a dentist, and the son dies on the first day of this. This way was called the Way of Saint John, but it's basically this pilgrimage. I think it's like 40 days, but the son dies unexpectedly. I can't remember how. It doesn't matter. And the father's to go there to pick up his remains. I think it was in France actually, and he's picking up the remains, and they cremated him, and he's heartbroken, and he wants them to be dense, and then he's going to leave the next day, go back to America, and he decides that he's going to take the journey with his son's ashes. It's
Right.
friggin' nuts.
Yeah.
Movies about journeys, I like crazy silly movies like
Mm.
Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I get i get so reminded, Michelle and group, that I want to be more open than just to what Tom thinks and my
Right.
experiences. There's a
Right.
bigger world out there. There's
For
more
sure.
color.
There
There's
is.
goodness in a difficult world.
Yeah.
There's goodness.
Yeah.
So anyways,
Absolutely.
the way.
So wait. And where's it for free that I can watch it?
I'm gonna put it on the group. I think it's on
Okay.
Netflix.
On Netflix. Although I here's a funny story. I think when I came to your house, not in 2015, I think when we did that first like so for anybody who doesn't know, we did two reunions over the last 50 years with all seven of us. One of them was last year, a
Sun
year
Peaks
ago
was Sun
today.
Peaks was the one in
Yep, and
the
Sun Peaks was I think it was the Sun Peaks one that I think Teresa was, I feel like you and I watched that at your house in your living room. I could be wrong. This was the same trip where Ethan told all his great jokes that I still have on video.
So much
We
fun.
can
It's
torment him with
it's
that.
on Amazon Prime if you have Amazon Prime.
Oh, I do. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, maybe you can put the trailer on the page.
yeah,
Or if you don't know how to
yeah.
do that, I can do it.
So
Okay.
in it, Michelle and I said this time, life's a journey. So
Yep,
working through pain pain issues, trust,
yep,
um, depression. Like I felt the characteristic of depressions come on me once in a while.
yeah,
Is that a chemical thing? Is that it's induced by experiences? But I'm acutely aware of it. Like to be, I'll use this word, tempted by depression, tempted if you got an addiction issue to use, tempted by anger, whatever. The temptation isn't bad or evil in itself, but as we learn, because we care about ourselves and others, we
yep,
learn that no, I'm not going to do that because
right.
that's not what's best for me,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Okay,
All right,
so
I had a quote and I lost it. What the heck is happening here? Uh, I seriously just wrote it down while you were talking, not to be rude, just being honest and
that's what we do.
transparent. It's okay. I still have it on another page. Here is your quote. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Nelson Mandela.
Put it on the wall. I've actually heard that one. I love
I
that one.
will. Good. Yeah, I
So
certainly will.
so
Thank you.
tell so tell so do you know when he wrote that?
No, it's on the list of famous quotes that I really
He was
like.
he wrote that while he was in prison.
Oh, interesting. Talk about going through
You
struggle.
remember how long he was in prison for?
I couldn't even venture a
More
guess.
than a couple of weeks, a couple of months, right?
Yeah, it was a long time.
20
And his
years, I
wife
think,
had a
something like
lot of
that.
shoes or something.
So here's a man who believes in his cause for freedom
Yep.
to the point of that he wasn't going to hold the things done against him to stop him in believing. Martin Luther King is one of my heroes too, right? One
Yeah.
of those
Yep.
guys, Gandhi or Mother Teresa.
Yep. Yep.
There's something when all of a sudden the cause or something becomes bigger than yourself. When all of a sudden you're like for me, I think I've said this before. When I was really sick, just after cancer, I didn't want to live. My body was so traumatized. My brain, when your body's traumatized, your mind and your brain and your emotions will be traumatized for sure. And I love my family that, but I was so exhausted. I was
Yep.
so tired that I was okay if I can find a way to pass on and not screw up life insurance. I'm being serious. That's what I
No,
thought. That's
no,
all I thought
that's
about.
what you think. No, for
And then
sure.
all of a sudden something shifted. I'm still in the midst of being bedridden. It was months in, or like I was bedridden for 10, 11 months. Something shifted. All of a sudden, I cared more about being healthy, not just for me, but for my kids,
Right.
my
Exactly. That
grandkids.
anchor. Right.
And because here's the key, we want to be around to be the goodness, to be the center, the
Yep.
centerness. Hey, come back. It's okay. That
Yep.
person's mean. Don't worry. It's okay. And when we become that, when we learn that the value of that, it changes us.
That's
One of my favorite movies is Braveheart,
me too. Yep.
the gore, right?
Yep.
What's the key about Braveheart? At the end, his cause was bigger than himself.
That's right.
So,
That's
anyways,
right. The passion, right, of him and the
he
experience.
just he gave his life. So I found the trailer, so I'm going to share it somehow.
Okay, good. Awesome. All right. Well, great to have everybody with us. Are we done?
Sure, why not?
Okay. Great to have everybody with us today. And everybody, I want to wish you a fantastic week. I want to remind you how capable and able you are of all your dreams coming true, all of the above. And and we'll see you next week, same time. Maybe Tammy will be with us. The other Tammy. We'll try to troubleshoot her this week. Or shoot her trouble. Yeah, we'll troubleshoot her and we'll get her straightened out so she can join us. Wendy, a different Wendy was with us for the first time this week. I love that. Very good. And we'll be back on next week, same time, same channel. And I hope you have lots of successes this week. And remember, perspective, right?
You're
Anything is
awesome.
possible. That's
You're
right. And
awesome.
you're awesome. Very good. Very good. Okay. Ciao for now.